This week on So Fucking What, we're going couple by couple talking about all the drama of the past week, and naturally we're starting with Jacqui, Ryan and his very controversial beard. That's all I guess you really need to know. We talk about other things too, but you'll have to wait and see what they are.
Brilliant, love that.
Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
Welcome back to So Fucking What.
Thank you.
I'm Katia.
I'm Celia.
Celia is back once again.
Yay.
While Stephen's in the chai. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this episode.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
For context, because I realised we didn't really tell anyone who you were last week. We just when we got straight into it, we genuinely got straight into it. Celia is another girl on the lady on the So Sydney team. She does a lot of our socials from a freelance perspective. She was our very first person to join us.
Yes.
So she's an integral part of the team.
Yep.
Thank you for coming back.
Of course.
All right, let's get straight into it. I think today, rather than starting at the commitment ceremony, that was nearly a week ago, right? We need to, rather than going all the way back, let's go couple by couple, because I think there were quite a few standout couples of this week. And there were others that realistically we could totally fucking forget that ever existed.
Yeah.
So the couple on everyone's mind, who do you think that might be?
I wonder. Jacqui and Ryan,
Jacqui
obviously.
and Ryan making headlines once again. They are single-handedly propping up MAFS, Channel 9 and Endemol Shine Australia.
I think it's because of them they brought all the drama for the week, and thank God for them. What would the producers do?
What would we do? So, obviously, as we all know by now, it was Homestays week. Yep. The first part was them going to Jacqui's house in Manly, and then they did the kind of swap and went to Ryan's house in Campbelltown. Yep. Let's start with the Manly house. So, I don't know if you know this, but this came out yesterday that wasn't actually Jacqui's house.
No.
It was an Airbnb
No way.
that production hired. And look, it sounded all very scary and like scandalous at the time. Very quickly, Jacqui and everyone came out and debunked it. And she was like, I live in a share house. It wasn't going to work to have production in my share house in Manly.
I had no idea. Wow.
So we just went to an Airbnb, which is far less, what's the right word? You know what I mean.
Yeah.
It was not actually that exciting when you really think about it. The headline was like, it wasn't Jacqui's house. She hired a house. But it was actually pretty harmless.
That makes it even more embarrassing for Ryan.
I know. So I thought it was interesting, that homestay.
Yeah.
Let's be real. It went from bad to worse.
Yeah.
What do we think about Ryan's beard?
I think it's fine. It's just a bit of stubble. I think it's a bit crazy that she was demanding that he shaves it off.
So here's the interesting thing that I think no one's talking about. And it's not a theory that I've actually talked about with anyone so far. So hear me out. The quote is, your beard isn't very manly, right? And I think we all immediately assumed that it was relating to him from a masculine, sorry, I keep hitting the microphone, from a masculine perspective, right? And then I was sitting there and I thought, is she actually meaning because they're in Manly, is it not like a manly vibe?
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't have bearded guys. It's more of like surfing and kind of clean shaven. When you think about it
that way.
And I thought about it after the fact. And look, Jacqui's not come out and said that. Hint, hint, wink, wink, Jack. Like, you'll be in all clear if you just go, he completely misinterpreted what I said. But then I thought, is she actually referring to it from that perspective? Now, okay, she's still talking about the beard. All right, we get it, yada, yada, yada. But I think she was kind of branded as this person who is, dissing his masculinity. Yeah. When actually, I genuinely think she could have just been saying like, your beard isn't very manly.
But don't you think she would have worded it a different way by saying your beard isn't very the style that manly men have?
But that could still be interpreted that way. Do you know what I mean? It's even?
I don't know. Knowing Jacqui, I think it was definitely something
was
to
an
do with
insult.
his. Yeah, it was definitely something to do with his masculinity. We all
Maybe.
know that she's against all things masculine.
The queen of double entendres.
Yeah.
It's not manly or manly. Oh dear. I love that she just like had that awkward pause when they were buying the flowers.
Yeah.
Girl,
Oh.
if you have to wait and pause awkwardly, that is not your man.
The fact that she would, like, I reckon she would have started crying if you didn't pay.
I genuinely think the florist was just about to put down her card. Everyone was just like, get me out of this awkward situation.
And he was so awkward. He was grabbing his card. He's like, yep, okay, that'll be on card. Like, it was just the whole interaction between him, her, and the florist was so awkward. So awkward.
Jacqui deserves all the flowers in the world. Oh my God. The fact that he couldn't see, like, I'm not here for setting your partner up, right? But the fact that he couldn't see that she was trying to just be like, I would like some flowers, please. Like, babes, read the room.
Yeah.
She wants flowers, you know. But I think, you know, it somehow got even weirder and worse in Campbelltown.
Yeah. Oh.
Let's talk about that.
Oh my God.
The first place we need to start is the fucking house. And can I just say, as much as people love to kind of put Jacqui down, wacky Jacqui, whatever, that girl delivered the best line of the entire season.
I was cackling to myself alone in my room. Like, it's just...
It reminds me of the elderly, and she genuinely was sad. Like,
was crying.
It was not this judgment. It was like, I feel so sad for you. It was pity.
Yes.
That house.
Oh, it's a man cave house. Like, the whole thing. It's kind of scary.
It was more than a man cave.
And then the dog getting left outside, the whole thing just gives me the ick.
It was more than a man cave.
Yeah.
It was actually terrifying.
It was.
You could expect that from someone who's 21, who's just moved out with their mates for the first time. Still disgusting, but you can kind of like get away with it a bit, right? You go, all right, there's a rite of passage to an extent. He's 36.
Oh, it's crazy.
No wonder he's going on a national dating show to find a wife.
Literally, no wonder he's single. I'm just thinking that you wouldn't want to bring someone back to your
Oh
home.
my God.
You would be a bit embarrassed about that.
I think he's quite proud of it though, which is more terrifying. If I walked in there, I would get 3 steps in and genuinely just slow motion, you know, retract back, get out. That it was terrifying. It was so dark. Open a blind.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then he opened the blind and there was mold everywhere. Oh
my
God. And he kept saying as well, I'm so proud of this. You know, I was able to buy a home. Like, I made all the money for this. Like, it took me years of working hard for this home. And I'm just thinking, how many years did it take you to get a home like that? Like, Jesus Christ.
It wasn't the home that's the problem though. And like, go Ryan, you bought a house.
Yeah.
Cool. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
It was the way that he decided to then go about decorating it. Like, no. And the skulls.
The skulls.
And the samurai sword.
I know.
I felt like
On the
I'd
dining
entered
table.
one of those House of Horrors, being like, something's going to pop out around a corner. Far out.
And Jacqui's starting to write all the things that she wants.
As she should. She was doing him a favour.
He said, look at my to-do list and it's empty.
Yeah. That was so funny. Here are my goals, empty, and my to-do list, empty. Oh my God. What did we think about the interaction then with his mates?
Yeah.
Because that obviously didn't go down well.
I don't know. I tried to see which side I was on. I was a bit confused because at the start when they started yelling at Jacqui, I was like, oh, that's a bit much for friends to do that on a TV show. But then thinking back, I think maybe Jacqui was quite harsh on the letter and they were just coming from a perspective of just, you know, standing up for their friend. But it was unnecessary, all the yelling. Like, they could have had just, you know, a normal conversation, but you know, I reckon the producers probably told them, you know, go for it, yell at her, make her cry.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
They would have
Yeah.
loved that. And look, I don't know. I think I had, obviously, I have never said that I think they are genuine. Oh, actually, no, I think I have said they're genuinely compatible because they're so fucking weird.
Yeah.
But I found that catch up interesting. Because I think it made me realize they are coming from such different worlds and they are never going to see eye to eye on a lot of things. And it's not that one is right, one is wrong, but they are genuinely such different people. And I don't think he's ever going to be able to understand her perspective. And I don't think she's ever going to be able to understand his perspective. His friends were a lot. Let's call it a spade for a spade. A spade, a spade. I can see why you would want to talk about that and address it with the partner.
Yeah.
But, like, let's be real. These two are not surviving the experiment. They're not about to get married.
The fact that they've come this far already is
you don't
a bit
even
absurd.
really need to address it.
I know.
And I have the hot take that I actually think Jacqui's letter was fabulous because it wasn't you don't earn any money, you don't do this. It wasn't that. That was how it was often then like pitched as what she said. But that is really misconstrued. I think Jacqui is a very straight shooter, and so it can be misinterpreted what she was trying to say because it does seem abrupt and harsh. But realistically, all she was just saying is, I have concerns that I will be the main, you know, provider because you won't be able to earn as much. And I know you don't want to be put in that position. Thoughts, comments, queries.
The thing is,
that
Ryan,
was the takeaway from the letter.
100%.
And I don't think that's offensive.
Yeah, no, it's not. The thing is, Ryan would have twisted what she said and told his friends. And then that's why the friends are retaliating.
Yeah.
It was quite unnecessary, all the yelling, though. I mean, like, even the friend, Jackie's friend, was just sitting there in silence.
Oh, my God.
She had nothing to say.
I know. I think that's when they realise that, like, babes, this is a lost cause. You're fighting an uphill battle and you're losing.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. So then it gets to the dinner party and somehow, just when we didn't think things could already go from bad to worse, they get worse again. I think Jacqui obviously realised that things, like, Ryan has had enough.
Yeah.
Thank God. I actually think that dinner party was the first time he made remote sense, like when they were sitting on the couch together.
I agree.
But before we get into that, can I just say the MAFS producers' editing
I know, spot
is
on.
golden.
It's
when
so
they're
good.
both in the car driving to the dinner party
know.
separately, she's calling him evil and he's going, that's the way it's gonna be.
Old
little
bub.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my
Not
God.
a thought is going through that man's brain. Amazing. 10 out of
So
10.
good.
Well done.
So good.
I feel like Jacqui is in one of those positions. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Because there's part of me that feels surprised that she's still trying to fight to make this work.
Yeah.
Why do you think she is trying so hard to do so?
I think she's probably realized that she's losing him and that she's pushed him too hard. Or the fact that she's never, you know, she doesn't have a boyfriend, she doesn't have a husband, and then she's sort of desperate. So she's just trying every little, I don't know, every little word to get him back. I don't know. Yeah.
I think it's really interesting because I think so many people have been like, why are they still trying? Why are they still doing this? And I think that would apply as a theory at the start of the experiment if they knew that they weren't getting along. I think that Jacqui, because she is quite a kind of logical thinking person, I think she very much is a black and white person.
Yeah.
She's seen how much time she's invested into this and she's trying to do whatever it
100%.
takes to make it work. And
Yeah.
let's be real, we've kind of all been there at some point, trying to make the most out of a bad situation. And because they've spent so much time together and because she's invested that energy, she doesn't want to accept to herself that it's not working.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why she's trying so hard. And I think there is also another aspect which we then sadly saw at the end of that episode of the dinner party, where I think she deep down realizes that, well, no one's ever going to meet her standards. And so I think she sees men as a bit of a project. And
Someone
she kind
that
of goes,
she can
well, I've
fix,
invested
yeah.
all this time into fixing this person
Yeah.
to make them exactly what I want. And they're getting there a little bit
That's
by
very
little
true.
bit. I don't want to give up now because they're like, you know, that's a lot of my time wasted. So I feel like it might be from that perspective is why she's rationalizing staying for so long. Literally flogging a dead horse to see if it wakes up.
I mean, she literally said at one point, she said, I don't lose people, people lose me.
I love that.
So I think she also has this sort of confidence in herself that I'm the one who should end this and not the other way around.
Yeah. I also think she's a smart operator and more than people give her credit for. Ultimately, the longer she can stay in that experiment, the better she's going to be moving out of the experiment,
100%.
right? She's got that new jewelry business that she's set up, da-da-da-da-da. That woman knew that she could not dump Ryan's ass on week 1, right?
Yeah.
She got to stick it out so that she can reap the rewards.
Oh, I found it so awkward when she started tapping his nose.
I forgot about that.
They were in the middle of a
Oh,
deep conversation
my
and he was
God.
raising concerns. And I think she started panicking a little bit and was like, no, I need to save this, and started doing
and
a
you
little
know
boop
what's
on his
interesting
nose.
is that she seemed obviously quite stressed, but if you notice that episode, and I haven't paid close attention in previous ones, she wasn't drinking. She wasn't drinking.
Interesting, yeah.
So that was all sober actions, the nose boop and everything. The awkward hug at the end. It was just
You could just tell Ryan's just had enough. He just can't do it anymore. He's,
To Ryan's credit, I think he made a lot of sense, and I actually think he went about that conversation
I agree.
in a very good way.
I agree, yeah.
Because it's not like she's happy either.
No.
He just had to kind of be the one to go like, you know what, enough's enough. You're not happy either.
Yeah.
Let's just end this. So
He held her hand. He was like, it's okay for you to not like me.
I know, it was quite sad. Now that I think about it,
he's handling this really well.
it was far too mature for
Yeah,
what
I
we've
know.
seen. It was uncharacteristically okay.
It wasn't him. I was confused. I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
And then we go back to the, fast forward to main day where the maturity has worn off and they're in an Instagram battle with each other, right? So in other news this week, Jacqui has filed a police report for revenge porn.
Wow.
Now, a lot of people are really confused by that because he hasn't posted graphic photos or anything, but he has shared intimate text between the two of them.
Really? Wow. Yep.
And it's actually really interesting because, as we all know, Jacqui is a lawyer by profession, and so am I. So I did a little bit of a deep dive into what and whether that is even something possible. Because so many people have come out slandering her, being like, "You're overreacting." And look, she might be. She very well might be overreacting. That's not really the question at hand, though.
Yeah.
The question is, does the claim have any legs at all? When we think of revenge porn, we think of the worst case scenario and you think of nudes, right?
Yeah.
By definition, and if you look at the legislation though, it doesn't actually need to be that. It just has to be some sort of intimate photo that has, that is basically considered to be a reasonable breach of someone's privacy. Now, a screenshot is A, a photo, and B, intimate can also include, there's no reason saying that an intimate photo can't be texts between each other.
So a screenshot of text messages. Of a photo.
And because some of them were of a bit of a sexual nature, do I think it really will take off? Look, I feel like the police probably have a better use of their time than to pursue something like that. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
But technically, the claim does have legs.
Wow.
It can be and legally could be interpreted as revenge porn, which is wild.
Crazy.
And very interesting. And I think more interesting is that they're still, after that fact, in this battle over Instagram. You'd think that if someone had filed a police report, you'd kind of be like, all right, I'm going to ease off for the next bit. I don't want to get in trouble, especially knowing how litigious of a character Jacqui can be. But no, they're still at each other's throats.
Chronically
My
online.
God.
Chronically online. Yeah.
I know. Well, I think that's all that we need to talk about Jacqui and Ryan. Thankfully,
we'll see what happens next week, but
yeah. If they make it that far, it's a lot. It's a lot. Let's go on to the next surprisingly interesting couple of this week. The first time we've ever really talked about them. Beth and Teejay, who for the first time we actually got to know. I was very sure that these two were industry plants.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm still not ruling that out as an option. They're so they're so nice, but they're so boring.
Yeah.
They're so boring.
There's not much going on in there.
This week though, they did provide a little bit. What do we think about Teejay kind of saying to Beth, I'm not sure if I see a future after this experiment?
I think it's another like Dave replay. Like it's just crazy. It's just the same thing repeating, like, you know, pulling someone along, playing along with them, not playing necessarily, just being with them throughout the experiment and then just, you know, kind of switching all of a sudden and saying, no, I don't see this progressing. And I feel bad for Beth because she's never dated someone before. This was the first time that she brought a guy over to her place to meet her parents and everything. And he decides that that is a good time to then say he doesn't see a future with her. I think it's a bit terrible.
I actually disagree.
You disagree?
Not fully.
Yeah.
I don't think what he did was as bad as what Dave did.
Yeah.
Because they were intruders. So they've been there for a month less than everyone else. So we need to factor that in.
Yeah.
And he also didn't say, I don't have feelings, I don't see a future. It was more just like, I don't really know yet where I stand.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair. And look, do I think he could have gone about that in a better way? 100%. Have the conversation in private.
Yeah.
Go, hey, I'm still, you know, we are, you know, later to this experiment than the others. I'm still figuring out my feelings. A full-blown relationship after is a big step, especially if they're not living together and they've only, after the experiment,
that's true,
not living in the same city and they've only slept together twice. Like, I feel like a relationship would be a big step from that. So I think his kind of uncertainty and maybe not readiness to have an answer one way or another is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of normal. Do I think that conversation should have been one in person, one-on-one?
Yeah.
Yes. Do I also think that if he had those concerns, maybe they could have been something discussed a little bit earlier and then they hadn't slept. I think the fact that they slept together this week kind of added insult to injury.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that he went about it perfectly, but I don't think it's necessarily fair to have an answer from him straight away about what they want to do after the experiment. So I think it was maybe taken a little out of proportion.
Yeah. I also think Beth's family probably, you know, asked a bit too many questions, sort of attacked him a little bit, and he probably wasn't ready for it. Like the way he answered those questions, I don't know if it's the edit or the way they, I don't know, portrayed him, but it made it sound like he just, you know, wasn't in it at all, wasn't interested, but that's probably not the case.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, what do I feel like? Here's what I'll say. I think it's actually really hard to judge this couple because they've had so little screen time. Yeah. And so we don't really know where they're actually at.
We don't really know what's happening.
Like people in 2 weeks of going into the experiment are in good places. Do you know what I mean? You don't expect them to like leave and go into a relationship straight after.
True, yeah.
We don't know how good the good is. Maybe they are having those deep chats. Maybe they are talking about their future. The fact that they have not really slept together tells me they're probably not.
Yeah.
The relationship's just not there.
Yeah.
So I think to kind of be like shocked, hurt, offended and saying, well, you know, how are we not going to possibly date on the outside? I think it still needs time. Yeah. It's still, you're in the dating stage. You're not in the relationship stage.
That's true. That is
right?
true. Yeah.
And until you reach that point, you're not going to know. So that's my hot take. And I think the difference with Jamie and Dave was that they've actually lived together and known each other a lot longer. We have seen the fact that they are so incredibly close to each other. They've been really, really into each other. They have been sleeping with each other. Jamie said, "I love you." And then it was like an immediate, I just don't know if I have feelings for you. So I think it was different for that reason. I think it was a more extreme version of what we're seeing with Beth and TJ.
True,
What did you think about their sit-down chat at the dinner party?
I think it seemed like it went well between Beth and TJ.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, I think it went well. They seemed like she got the reassurance she needed. I just think it's hilarious. We need to talk about him saying darling.
Oh my God.
The sipping game. The producers who edited that did such a good job, and then skipping to the experts taking a sip. So good. Darling.
Oh my God. You know what? I loved it, the first two. I was like, hot. I actually am so into that.
Yeah.
And then I thought, it's starting to feel a little condescending.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
actually, and I think there's a really fine line when you're calling someone one of those endearing terms. Like, I call everyone babes.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But if I'm like, babe, calm down, it means something completely
100%,
different.
yeah.
Darling. It's like, don't call me darling if you literally are telling me that you might not have any feelings for me. Do you know what I mean?
It's weird because I've never heard him call her darling.
Yeah, I know.
In this entire experiment until that dinner party, and he said it every 5 seconds.
I'm
after
not
every
gonna lie,
sentence.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was so
Darling.
cute. I was like, oh my God, they need to be together.
Darling,
this
I
is
didn't
gorgeous.
say that.
I know. I need someone to call me darling. So yeah, I thought it was weird, but I was into it.
Yeah.
It was a bit over the top,
It was
though.
a little bit, yeah.
I wonder if he's been saying it all season and then they thought, no, because if they then just show it, then it won't
I know,
be
they
funny.
just cut it
We're
all
just going to
into-
cut all the darlings from beforehand and put them all in one. So
And
we're
then
all
Jamie-
like,
yeah.
what the fuck is going on?
Jamie saying take a sip every time he says darling, and then just the constant sip of the wine. It's too good. Great editing from the producers. Love that. Yeah.
I thought that sit-down chat that they had at the end was so bizarre because I feel like he basically just said the same thing, being like, I need more time to figure out what I want to do after this experiment, which is what he kind of had been saying the entire time.
Yeah.
And then she was like, I feel so much clearer now that you've told me that. I'm like, I'm sorry. Have I missed something?
There's probably something that we're not seeing. I don't know.
That feels like exactly what he said already. Anyway, my God. I don't know if they're going to last.
No.
So apparently next week there's a new challenge.
Right.
And it is that everyone gets an envelope. So it's the final week, right?
Yeah.
Everyone gets an envelope and they say, in this envelope was your runner-up person that we were going to match you with.
Right.
Do you want to open the envelope and see who they are?
Oh my God.
How
That's going to be
catastrophically fucked up is that?
Oh my
I actually
God.
have goosebumps just thinking about it. Terrible.
So they have the choice between opening the letter, seeing that person that they could have been originally
I don't
matched
know
with.
if they meet them, but they
Right.
can see who it was
and
all their
decide.
details and a photo of what
Oh,
this is
my
just
God.
like what I'm
Yeah.
hearing on the
Yeah.
grapevine. That would be insane.
That would be
Apparently it breaks
crazy.
up a lot of people.
Wow. Oh, that's kind of sad.
It's kind of evil.
That's really
I
evil.
love it. I feel like as well, it would be I think so much of it would just be curiosity. And I don't necessarily, and when it does get to that, we can obviously talk about it more, but I feel like it would be one of those things where it will really depend on where you are at in your relationship as to whether you want to do that or not. Because if you're really into each other but still kind of keeping things open, then you'd go, well, why not?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's necessarily harm in that. I feel like very few of the couples will resist the temptation.
Oh, that would be, considering what a lot of couples are, like the situation they're in right now, Especially, I'm just thinking people like, you know, Athena and Adrian. I just think Adrian's going to jump the gun and open that envelope the second he sees it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'm just not convinced, you know? And then, I don't know, there's some other, I mean, the only couple that I think wouldn't is Jeff and Ree. Jeff 100% will be like, no, I'm not touching that
because
envelope.
they're at that stage, right?
But the others, I think,
they're
100%,
not solid enough in their relationships. And I think that's the thing. It doesn't make you like a bad person. It doesn't mean they don't like the person.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the relationship isn't going well. It's just they're not at that stage yet where they could resist the temptation of just seeing even. Anyway, we've got that to look forward to.
That
so
is gonna be very interesting.
Stay tuned for that. So now we get back to, you know, our favorite couple of last week, Jamie and Dave.
Yeah.
They've obviously reconciled. They're turning a new page, whatever. Are you buying it or not?
I don't know. I'm confused. I don't know how to feel about this because one minute I'm thinking I hate Dave and now I'm like, oh, he seems really sweet with his dad and that was really nice for him to introduce Jamie. But I don't think I buy it, to be honest. Yeah.
Don't buy it at all. I think he's realised that she's genuinely this close to leaving and making him the entire, you know, national villain, and has realised that he's got to go into damage control in order to save this.
And the action that he said he was going to do to reconcile the relationship wasn't necessarily materialistic things, but it seems like that's all he's been doing, buying her flowers, buying that $400 perfume.
True.
And
that's really interesting,
Yeah, there's other
actually.
things you can do to, you know, show her that you're interested and that you really like her than just buying her a bunch of materialistic things.
And you know what I think's interesting? And look, maybe his love language is gifting.
Yeah. But it might not be hers.
My personal, true. And I think now that you say that, maybe, and I'm just thinking out loud here, people and Dave feel the need to buy gifts in lieu of actual emotional availability.
Yeah, it's literally love bombing. It's love bombing.
Well, it's not so much, I think, love bombing. I think it's, here is someone who cannot connect with their emotions. They cannot connect on that deeper level. They're struggling to give that. They're struggling to open up. They're struggling to do that.
Yeah.
And so instead of doing acts of service and quality time and words of affirmation and other things that realistically Jamie is looking for in terms of stepping up, he decides and feels like the only way he can meet that is and fill that void is by putting gifts into it. And look, that is an act of, you know, that is a love language.
It is, yeah.
But if it's your only one, I think what it tells me is that you actually don't have the capacity to go deeper from an emotional perspective if you're using giving gifts as a crutch to help your relationship.
I mean, if that situation happened to me and then my partner gave me a $400 bottle of perfume, obviously I'd be like, wow, that's so sweet. But it doesn't mean anything to me.
Doesn't fix it.
$400 is also a ridiculous amount to spend on a perfume for just to say I'm sorry. Like, it's a bit crazy. Write a letter, you know, do something else.
Bare
Give
your
her a hug.
soul and wear a vial of my blood around your neck. Thank you very much. That or nothing.
Yeah. Now we know how to fix what you want to do.
That's my love language. I'm joking, obviously. Anyway, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think the gift giving's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but if it's like I said, if it's the only thing that you're doing, then there's a problem.
There is a problem.
Why can't you open up? Why can't you have a really beautiful connection and conversation, spend more time together? And look, I'm sure they do that off screen as well. But I think gift giving's a cop out. That's what I'm calling it.
I actually saw a comment that someone just posted on TikTok a video of Dave and his dad and the whole, you know, meeting situation with Jamie. And someone made a comment and I thought that was interesting. I was wanting to ask you. And they said that maybe Dave felt guilty for loving someone or felt guilty for having feelings for someone because he was away from his dad while his dad had cancer. And so he couldn't emotionally commit to Jamie. But then now that he knows that his dad's cancer has gone away, maybe he can put in that emotional connection.
Buy that.
You don't buy that? No.
Nah.
Interesting.
Because if he was that worried about it, he wouldn't have gone on MAFS in the first place. Let's be real.
That's true.
Like, you know, he clearly is able to compartmentalize that into another part of his life. Yeah. Nah. Excuses. The man
Dave
is on the fucking chopping block.
Still not in the good books. Yep.
I know.
Yep.
He's trying, but he's not succeeding this time. We have papped photos of them just before the whole blow up, during, and then after, like a few weeks after.
Yep.
So around the time that we're seeing them now. And let me tell you, it's depressing. You can see when they're going strong. You can see in the body language, and they're into each other, and it's just a completely different vibe. And then obviously while they're having this fight, you do expect them to be more distant, and you see that. Obviously Jamie's walking in alone. But weeks after, so now when it's supposed to be good, you can see the photos of them when they're together.
Yeah.
And I actually want to cry looking at them. He is so spaced out.
Yeah.
He is so obviously checked out and just still hanging in there for whatever
Jamie,
reason.
yeah.
And it's really sad to see, because just from a body language perspective, you go, okay, on screen they look good. Here are the photos of them walking to the coffee shop.
Yep.
He's walking ahead of her. He's staring out into no man's land, completely disengaged. And it is chalk and cheese compared to a month before, when he's
Interesting.
holding her hand, leading the way, like really engaged, close contact, smiling, looking at her. It's done.
It's done.
It's done. I'm calling it. I don't think they're going to be able to resurrect this.
Yeah.
And I'm so sad.
I know. But you know what's crazy is the last podcast I stated that I think Dave will say that he doesn't necessarily have feelings for Jamie yet, but he'll write stay, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I called it.
Old mate needs some more followers on
I
Instagram
know.
before he
Yeah.
goes, look, I don't know.
It's such a shame because I really, really liked them at the start. I thought Dave was I just thought he was so cute, like, you know, like a big giant teddy bear. But he's clearly not. It's
you
just
know what
really
I think's
sad.
interesting after, you know, our podcast last week is that a lot of people have come online and said that they felt really triggered by Dave in the
Wow.
past week
Yeah.
because they feel like they've dated a similar version.
Wow.
Which was really interesting because when I was looking at the episodes last week, I was sitting there being like, I feel so incredibly triggered right now. Like, why am I watching my life on screen? Because I think, and here's an interesting theory, have we all dated a Dave? And I talk about that in my article this week, diving into why is every woman in Australia currently being like, oh my God, I feel for Jamie.
Yeah.
Not only because Dave's done the wrong thing, but because I have been Jamie in a situation. And turns out it sounds like a lot of people have. And I think at the end of the day, people are resonating with it because Dave is avoidant.
Yeah.
And everyone's had that, and everyone's, gone through an experience of dating the avoidant guy and how it goes good. And then all of a sudden it's just ice. Shit has hit the fan. You don't know why. It just is an overnight change. And I think that's why everyone's been so invested in talking about the Jamie and Dave drama, because they feel like they actually have
Seen it before.
experienced it before themselves. And I think there's like a bit of projection going on. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
very
We want to
interesting.
hear in the comments, have you dated a Dave? Because everyone's coming online.
Yeah.
It's weird. Anyway, moving on. So to round it out, we want to talk about quickly, let's, go through what I would like to call the boring couples of this week. Once again, Rhea and Jeff make the list. We love them. But they're
so cute.
batshit fucking boring.
Yeah.
They get each other. He gave her a key.
I know.
So sweet. So wholesome.
You're like off it. You're like, no. Next question.
Arena. I keep calling her that. Athena and Adrian.
What'd you call her?
I keep calling her Awena. Well, you see how her name's spelled.
Yeah.
And I know it's Athena, and I just am like, I don't know. It's late into the week.
Yeah.
The brain's not braining. They're back together and kind of good.
Yeah.
Next.
Next.
Elliot and Veronica.
Yeah.
Done for. Left.
Yeah.
There's photos of her leaving the Green Square Apartments for
I
final
saw that,
time.
and she's jumping up
So
and down,
happy.
hands in the air. Yep, so happy.
Don't care. Next. Karina and Paul.
Yep. Same old.
She's Catholic.
I know.
Why has this become such like a
I know.
shtick for them? You know, ever since that whole wife swap last week, it's like her core identity.
Is, religious. I know.
Anyway, next. So to round out this episode, what I want to talk about is the MAFS Funny podcast and the investigation that Josh over there is doing. Have you been listening to that at all?
I haven't listened to his actual podcast, but I saw him going to John.
Yeah.
Like just like running after him and interviewing. Yeah.
Crazy.
I know.
Crazy.
I know.
I think it's really interesting that it's kind of all come to a head this season.
Yeah.
Arguably, there have been things that have really crossed the line, and it's interesting to see people like Josh paving the way in actually going, hold on a second, you can't keep trying to one-up yourself in this way, because if you do, then someone's going to get hurt and it will actually change or cancel the show forever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are being misconstrued by Josh thinking that he wants the show cancelled, and that's not what he wants at all.
No.
He's just like, it needs better regulation because if you don't, something like bad's going to happen where you can't actually continue the show, and that would be a shame for us to lose it. I think, oh my God,
it was
John
crazy.
was such a little weasel.
I know.
Not great
And he
media
started
training.
to film him. I was like, oh, you're such a middle-aged man.
It was really, for someone who is probably on a very nice salary from one of the largest news and, channels in the country. Yeah. I would have thought they would have given him some better media training in handling that. Yeah. He would get stuff like that all the time, I imagine. Maybe not heckling so much, but like, it wasn't great how he went about it, was it?
I know.
Well, his next podcast is out on Sunday, so I'll be interested to see who
really
kind of focuses his sights on next.
I saw that he also was on the news.
Yeah, because it became so popular.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, Josh has bounced John Atkin. But anyway, watch this space because it's gaining traction. Yeah. And I think it is interesting, for them we call them experts now because we can't actually legally call them psychologists because that's not the capacity they're operating in on the show. And then at that point you kind of go, well, they're really just glorified shit stirrers, aren't they? I think it is interesting to see how the experts are going to go about the aftermath, as I like to call it, because this is only becoming a bigger problem. Obviously Josh bounced him this week, but people have been actually petitioning for the show to get cancelled really ever since Paul punched that wall. And then there's been quite a few other instances where it's just been a little bit like this feels a bit too far. So I actually think this will snowball into something greater, and hopefully it does because we want to we want to have MAFS on our screens for a long, long time, but we don't want to we
want it to be a good environment, not a toxic environment where experts are letting a punch in a wall slide like that. So watch this space and definitely go and listen to Josh's podcast, MAFS Funny podcast as well, because it's really, really good. But well, that's a wrap. What a session. What a session.
I'm exhausted. Yeah. We have one more week?
Crazy.
And then final vows.
Wow. Yeah.
Thank fucking God for that.
I think it's time.
Mama
I think
is tired. I feel like I have developed such a close parasocial relationship to the people on my screens.
I feel like I built a relationship with them and they have no idea who I am.
I know. It's deeply
Jamie,
problematic.
Hi, how are you
My
doing?
God.
Oh my
so
God.
good to see you again. Bitch, who are
like,
you?
Who are you?
Yeah, literally. I think I will, while I kind of sit here and count down the days now until it finishes, there is another part of me that deep down intrinsically knows what am I going to do with myself?
I mean, it's kind of fun to have a full day work and come home and sort of, you know, turn on your TV and just ready to watch some trash TV and just get excited for what the drama's going to be. It's kind of exciting. I know.
I feel like my whole world would be quite lost. All I do is watch MAFS, write about MAFS, or talk about MAFS. So if there's no MAFS,
I know.
who am I? Anyway, that's all we have for today. We will be again back next week having all of the chats about the letter challenge, which we know is about to come. Commitment ceremonies, who's going to stay, who's not. So until then, bye-bye.
Bye.